about 1:35 p.m., so this stream is only going to last about 15 or 20 minutes. He's going to go about 1:35 p.m. Central, 2:35 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Right now, it's 9:19 in in South Africa. So just everybody, just hang on 1 second, and gonna get this posted. Just hang on 1 second. And anyways, hope you guys are doing well. I just was on Ronaldo's stream with Chris Wyatt, and it was an awesome stream. And they did a good job chatting about that. What I'm going to talk to you today on my stream about is North Korea and the situation there. And South Africa does have a relationship with North Korea. In April of this year, of 2020, actually, Kim Jong-un, the leader of North Korea, sent a letter to Cyril Ramaphosa congratulating South Africa on Freedom Day. Now, a few years ago, South Africa did suspend its North Korean ambassador because the North Korean ambassador was caught smuggling rhino horns out of South Africa. That transpired. But South Africa does not need to have diplomatic relations with North Korea, but they will, because the ANC does human rights abuses as well, same as the North Korean government. And let me explain this. You can get 6 months in a North Korean gulag for watching a South Korean drama, a South Korean movie, or humming K-pop songs. Now, that is defied a lot of times by the people, and a lot of times they will sell USB sticks on the black market so people can watch South Korean movies and South Korean TV shows and hum and listen to K-pop. But at the same time, you are, if you get caught, you will get 6 months in prison for that. Also, if you had nothing to do with the Japanese occupation of Korea between 1910 and 1945, but you had ancestors that did, or just one distant relative that did, the government can come barge into your house, take away everything you've ever had, and then they send you to a concentration camp for something that your family did. That happened to a guy who wrote the book, The Aquariums of Pyongyang, by Kang Chol-won. He spent about 10 to 15 years in a South Korean labor camp just because one of his relatives had collaborated a little bit with the Japanese government between, never mind that his mother and grandmother, particularly his grandmother, were loyal members of North Korea's Communist Party. And Kang Chol-won wrote an excellent book, The Aquariums of Pyongyang. Kang Chol-won was eventually able to defect to South Korea, and he launched a campaign over there trying to improve human rights in North Korea. But in the mail one time, in it, all right, I hit the reconnect button. All right, Clem, how are you? Okay, props to the 2 likes here. Props to the 4 people that have tuned in. Hope you guys are doing well. And then also, okay, most people cannot defect from North Korea to South Korea along the DMZ, along the demilitarized zone. You said buffer, but can you guys hear me now, or am I still buffering? All clear on my side. I'm all right, thanks. Okay, Clem, how are you? But so you have to go through China, but only 14% of the North Koreans who manage to leave North Korea stay in China, because North Korea and China have a cordial relationship where a lot of the Chinese police can arrest North Korean defectors, and then they can repatriate them. Now, there are some North Koreans who do marry poor Chinese farmers, and while these farmers are poor by Chinese standards, they're actually rich by North Korean standards. So they'll marry them, but a lot of times the Chinese farmer will treat the woman like dirt, will beat them, will rape them, will have affairs with other women. And then typically the woman gets impregnated, and then also the woman's scared to say or do anything because she's scared to call the Chinese police, and then they'll call the North Korean police and have her repatriated. And it has happened a few times, but what happens is, typically if the child's pregnant but they're not pure Korean, and this shows you not every racist person is white. If the baby's not pure Korean, a lot of times the doctors will perform a cesarean section without anesthesia, and then they'll take the baby out, and then they'll stab the baby with scissors through the head, or they'll just throw the baby in the bucket and leave the baby to die a slow, painful death. That has happened before. So typically what the people will do, and Beavis said, late joining chores to do. Well, you know, you got to do what you got to do. No, I had a lot of other things to talk about on my stream, But I'm trying not to interfere with Ronaldo nor Chris's streams, so that's why I'm doing the second part of this video right here, the brew. If you answer that question. Um, so that's what's going on right here. So typically what they'll do is they'll get to the Japanese consulate, the U.S. consulate, or embassy, or the American embassy in China, and then they'll defect that way. Typically, the embassy that they go to most is South Korea's, but the Chinese police try to form walls around that embassy to keep people from entering, but people usually jump over them and manage to get to the consulate or to the embassy. That typically happens. And then typically when they get to South Korea, they still have discrimination because they're not South Korean, but they have a better life than they had. They have a way better life than they had in North Korea. And most of the North Korean defectors in South Korea, about 70% of them are satisfied with their lives in South Korea because they have a better life. Now, the North Korean dialect and the South Korean dialect of Korean is a little bit different, so sometimes there's difficulties in communicating, and then sometimes because all they know is communist ideology, they don't really have a lot of employable skills. So a lot of Christian churches or a lot of government organizations in South Korea have to show them how to be employable, which can be a challenge as well. But anyways, no, I'm not addicted to live streaming. I'm going to try not to live stream the next 2 days if I can help it, unless you guys really want me to. But I'm going to try, like I said, to take a break from it because I'm on Ronaldo streams often, I'm on Christian streams, and then I have my own stream, so I'm pretty busy with that. Breather says the brew looks pretty bright to me. No, brew's cool with me too. He asked if I was addicted to live streaming, which I'm not, and I happily answered his question. But right now, we limited North Korea talking about that. Well, first of all, let's stick to human rights. Human rights in North Korea is not as much of an issue. Number one, it's not as much of an issue because unfortunately during the Trump years, the United States has taken a back seat and has not condemned North Korea on human rights like they should have. Now, a lot of European Union countries have been, but they because China's a permanent member on the UN Security Council and so is Russia, they kind of allowed China and Russia to just disrupt the whole thing, where a lot of UN resolutions condemning North Korea on human rights cannot occur, unfortunately. And that has happened. Now, under President Bush and also President Obama, the U.S. had a special envoy for human rights in North Korea, but Trump terminated that position. But now it seems like with the Biden years, we may get another envoy that's specifically dedicated to improving rights in North Korea, which I hope does happen. Now, in Trump's defense with North Korea, he had a meeting with Kim Jong-un in Hanoi, Vietnam, and also in Singapore. But after the meeting in Hanoi, Trump basically said, we're not going to end sanctions on North Korea until you guys agree to denuclearize. Well, North Korea didn't do that. They haven't denuclearized, and they just steadily developed their weapons. And even though we pressured them on ending their nuclear power and ending their nuclear situation, we really didn't pressure North Korea in terms of ending their building their missiles, their ballistic range missiles. And so they have missiles that may not have nuclear warheads attached to it, but they still have, excuse me, intercontinental ballistic missiles that are capable of reaching the United States, which is very, very frightening. And they have several mid-range ballistic missiles that are capable of reaching South Korea. And they also have a lot of chemical weapons which are capable of hitting South Korea. Now, South Korea did a good job letting the United States put up a missile defense system called the THAAD missile defense system in South Korea so it could block North Korean missiles trying to attack South Korea. Well, China, this shows you how much of an enemy China is. China threw a hissy fit, and China started complaining and whining and bitching about it. And the THAAD missiles were not designed to eliminate Chinese missiles. They couldn't do that, only North Korea's missiles. But the THAAD could monitor a lot of Chinese military activity, and it could monitor a lot of Chinese military exercises, even though it wasn't the main goal. So China started boycotting a bunch of South Korean goods, started banning K-pop stars from coming into China, and then banning South Korean dramas in their country, which really made South Korea's economy decline because South Korea, even though they're the U.S.'s #1 defense ally, they're also China's #1 trading partner. And that just shows you how China is not a friend to the free world, if you personally ask me. It's just not. China's not a friend of the free world. And the U.S. had a perfect system, the THAAD system, to be able to block North Korea's missiles trying to hit South Korea. But then China comes in and, bitches about it and whines about it and throws a hissy fit about it. Also, now, get to President Biden. He should not ban the resolution, the China virus. I firmly believe he's wrong doing that. The virus originated in a lab in Wuhan, China. Biden, look, when we say China virus, we're not trying to offend the Chinese people. We're not trying to offend people of Chinese ancestry. We're talking about the Chinese Communist Party, I firmly believe. And that executive order that he issued was unconstitutional. It can apply to people in his cabinet because he has authority to hire and fire them, but we have freedom of speech in the United States. Cameron Engelbrecht says, hey, Brett. Hey, Cameron, how are you? We have freedom of speech in the United States that's protected under our First Amendment, and we can say that. Also, it was unconstitutional when President Biden banned the Keystone Pipeline. President Biden, under the Constitution, the president does not have an authority to regulate interstate commerce. That is Congress's power. Now, if he could go to Congress and say, could you guys draft a resolution banning the Keystone Pipeline? And if two-thirds majority, if two-thirds of the House of Representatives say yes, then it can go to the Senate. And if the majority of the Senate votes for it, then he can sign it into law. But he just can't sign an executive order banning the Keystone Pipeline. When he did that, that cost the United States 11,000 jobs. Cameron Engelbrecht says, good, what did I miss? Cameron, what I was talking about was the human rights abuses in North Korea. And in North Korea, you can get 6 months in a gulag for watching South Korean movies or South Korean TV shows or for singing K-pop songs. That is not a lie. And you can, and also if your family, if you didn't do it, but if your family collaborated with the Japanese government years ago when Japan occupied Korea, you could go to jail for stuff, go to the concentration camps for the stuff that your family did, which is sick. And Kang Chol-won, who was sent to a North Korean concentration camp, notes that in his book called The Aquariums of Pyongyang. It's one of the best books, I believe, ever written on the human rights abuses situation in North Korea. Actually, President George W. Bush, when he was in office, he met with Kang Chol-won and had Kang Chol-won sign a copy of the book, The Aquariums of Pyongyang, which was, I really believe, an awesome thing to do. All right. Okay, this one Namibian, she's half Namibian, she's half British, she's based in the UK, she's a nurse, and she got the COVID-19 vaccine. She said she just had a sore arm, a little bit of sore muscles, but that was it. And she talked to several other of her patients, and in the UK, and most of them have not had any allergic reaction from getting the COVID-19 vaccine. And there's a high amount of distrust of the vaccine in Namibia right now. There's a high amount of skepticism over the vaccine, but she went and got the vaccine herself, and the Namibian actually did an article on her, and they were talking about how the vaccine was safe for them, for a lot of her patients, and I firmly believe that you guys should go check it out. Just Google COVID-19 vaccine in Namibia, and it'll pop up. And that's what I firmly believe. And they're using the vaccine that South Africa is more likely going to get, the AstraZeneca vaccine, the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine. All right, Australia stopped giving the vaccine as it had too many side effects. I'm gonna check that out. I've not heard that. I will check that out and see if that's happened. But like I said, bro, I've not heard that, so I will check that out and see if that happened. Like I said, I personally have not heard that, so I will go and see it. But I'm not racist for calling the ANC out, because the ANC, the West is not hoarding the vaccines. As I pointed out, as an American, I know this to be true. It's reported in American news. Johnson & Johnson, as well as Pfizer, offered to sell the ANC the vaccine for 50% cost, for half cost. But the ANC said no. That is too expensive. And they want to embezzle money, embezzle the grants that they get, and then they want to bitch and complain that the West is hoarding the vaccines. No, it doesn't work that way. And then Mo Ibrahim, who's a Sudanese telecom billionaire. Mo Ibrahim could donate a lot of his own personal money and get a lot of the vaccines for several African countries, but that's not something Mo Ibrahim is probably going to do, more than likely. And so both of them just need to stop with their nonsense, to be honest with you. That's just all I'm going to say about it. But like I said, both of them need to stop with the nonsense. No, typically it does, but there were a lot of safety measures that were killed by the CDC, the Center for Disease Control, in the United States, but and the Department of Health. But the reason was because our economy was falling and we needed a vaccine ASAP. But people are getting the vaccine, and only 11.1 out of 1 million people have experienced allergic reactions. I've gotten the vaccine and I've not had an allergic reaction. I had a sore arm the first day, but that was about it. A little bit of a runny nose here and there, but that just shows that the antibodies are working. That's just it. All right. Well, looks like Chris Wyatt has started to stream pretty soon. I'm gonna try to take a break from streaming the next 2 days. I've been on, like I said, I've been doing my chores and doing all of YouTube. I'm just extremely busy right now. Or I'm trying to be less busy. So Wit42 says Wit42 says good stats. Thank you. The only reason people are alarmed is because the flu shot is 1.3 out of a million, and the COVID-19 vaccine is 11.1 out of a million in terms of getting allergic reactions to the vaccine. So, because I got 5 viewers, I guess I'm gonna go a little bit while longer, but. If you guys want to check out Chris Wyatt's stream, he's on right now. It's just I was there for his morning stream. I was there when him and Ronaldo were on together, and I guess I won't pop in on this other one. But stats from where? Stats from the Center for Disease Control and stats from our own health department. To be honest with you, I mean, and then there are stats from hospitals as well. I mean, it's just, and I will say this. My home state of Mississippi typically was averaging 2,500 cases of COVID-19 a day. But since they got the vaccine, we are now under 1,000 cases per day, and only about 10 to 15% of the state's population so far has been vaccinated, if that. So, the healthcare workers have been vaccinated largely, and so have our first responders, our police officers, our firefighters, and our ambulance workers. So, the number of COVID cases have steadily gone down. So we're seeing a positive trend comes to this vaccine. And I'm just saying, we are seeing a positive trend when it comes to the vaccine. So, that's, like I said, and I'm not a globalist. I'm not a leftist. I do have some views that are liberal, but I voted for Trump in 2016, 2020. I voted for President Bush in 2004, and in 2008, I didn't vote for Obama. I voted for John McCain. I'm not a globalist by any stretch of the imagination. I was glad that Trump had an America First policy and that he did stand up to China with the bad trade deficit that we had, and it helped our economy because Trump did put a lot of tariffs on goods that were being imported from China, and it helped our economy out and it balanced the trade deficit. Bruce says herd immunity. Looks like you guys are going to Chris's stream. Please go there. I'm going to go there and participate in it again. So I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks you guys for tuning in. Thanks for the 4 likes. Hope everybody's doing well. Take care. God bless them. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.